I'm happy to have my next guest join us. His debut album is called Fuzzy Brain. From the location unknown, it is Dayglow. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course.
And why don't we just get right to it and just please disclose your location because it seems quite mysterious.
Yeah, I'm in my house in Austin, Texas. Yeah, so I'm actually in my studio in the house to be specific. But
Wow.
yeah, this is my seat I've been sitting in for the past probably 200 hours. So
You know, with some people, they either have had a new album that had just come out or they were planning on writing new materials. So, the timing of all this is either good or really bad. How do you view this quarantine right now because of the fact that you were going to be on tour for quite some time this year and, it seemed like you had already been holed up in the studio for some time?
yeah, I mean, it was definitely strange timing. So we were on a drive from Austin to Chicago, which is quite a trek. And we left Austin. Chicago was the first show of the tour. And we left Austin like completely optimistic, like nothing was going on in the world. And on our drive up there, everything just like started falling apart. And so it was really crazy, like having to decide pretty much once we were in Chicago, like we can't do this tour. So it was definitely like a mind warp, like seeing it all unfold. And at first it felt kind of isolating because it was like right at the beginning of everything. But then once I realized like the whole world is on halt, like, there's not much I can do about it. Definitely wish I would have been on tour, but, just trying to make the most of the situation everybody's in. So
You're
yeah.
holed up in Austin. You're fortunate to have this studio. Is this a studio that you've built over the years, or did you build this recently? Because I see quite a lot of gear there.
Yeah. So I always kind of have my eye on like Craigslist and what's what's going on. So none of this is really new. But so I actually moved into this house like a week and a half ago. So the space is new, but all this gear I just kind of moved from my bedroom, and then I was recording in my guitarist's. He has like a ranch house, and so there was like the shed that they weren't using. So I was like recording pretty much all of last year in there with this gear. But this space is like the first time I'm like not compromising. I feel comfortable with where I am. But
Speaking of all that gear, you just mentioned that you collect quite a few things there.
yeah,
What is it in particular that you're collecting in terms of the gear? Is it because you're a connoisseur, you enjoy the vintage aspect of these instruments, or is it that you need them?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely like it's always strange thinking like buying things for art because like you don't necessarily need like the vintage synth, fill in the blank. But there's just something about the character of like having these instruments that have like history to them. My mom, growing up, she like has always loved to like find things like at thrift stores and like fix them up and resell them. So I guess that like hunting for vintage things is like in my DNA. I've just made it musical.
Now, you mentioned your mom. She was a singer, right? Or
Yeah,
actually,
but
both your parents are singers.
yeah, they like both sing in church, and they like met at this country music show thing. I don't even know how to begin to describe it, but they both sang. It wasn't like a situation where they were like pushing me towards like doing music or there were like instruments around the house or anything. It was actually kind of the opposite because I think they had just seen a lot of people like try really hard to like make it in the industry, and so I think they were just like, being parents, just like cautious about like me pursuing this, but it's become pretty obvious over the years, like it's totally what I want to do. So it's been really rewarding and like awesome that they're on board and supportive about everything.
I can imagine what it's like moving, especially when you're older, You were basically a teenager, right? And
Hmm.
it's a lot different than when you're 6. You have
Yeah,
time to make friends and less judgment and that awkward phase and all those things. The music
yeah,
that you wrote during this time doesn't necessarily sound sad. It doesn't
yeah.
necessarily evoke emotions of loneliness and being an outsider.
Mhm.
Was that on purpose?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely fairly optimistic when it comes to like trying to process my emotions and like I'm just a fairly like emotional person, and I don't think that always has to mean like negative. You know, I just feel things like deeply, and so I want to use the gifts that I have with music to like channel those emotions and kind of have like optimism attached to it because that just feels kind of rare in indie pop nowadays. There's always a time and place like for darker music. Like I listen to sad music often, so I don't want people to think I'm like making it in spite of like other artists or something, but it's just like what I naturally would make. I'm just trying to, be who I would be regardless. So,
What do you listen to
um,
when you're sad?
oh man, I'm a big fan of Phoebe Bridgers right now. Um, Along with that is like Connor Oberst. In high school, I was like really into Bright Eyes and like that whole thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess like the Carpenters. I don't know. The Carpenters is like fairly like happy music too, but there's just something kind of sad about it. So I've been listening to a lot of Carpenters lately. Um, yeah,
I was with you with the Phoebe Bridgers and Bright Eyes and Connor Oberst, the Carpenters.
yeah,
That stuff my parents would listen to. Is that
yeah.
stuff your
I
parents would
listen.
listen to too? How did you get exposed to that?
Um, the past like 3 years have kind of been like a big discovery music like time for me with music. I've just been getting into a bunch of like 70s and 80s pop. That's kind of like strictly what I listen to. I just think it's so fascinating, like with Spotify and like streaming services, like even though songs are old, like you can still like discover them. So it like isn't an old song to me. And so there's like this whole like huge collection of songs that like were literally like on the charts, though they're not anymore like they were. So they're good songs. Um, and so yeah, I've just been kind of going back and listening to a bunch of stuff, and I kind of have like a record collection, but um, yeah, usually I'll like go to Goodwill with my mom or something, and we'll find records, and she's like, "Oh, I used to listen to that," so I immediately just take that as it's probably good. So
I'm glad you brought that up because a song that's been part of a staple of your live sets is a surprise to me. Some people,
mhm.
and I love the song, and it's from one of my favorite movies, and I'm really curious to know why you picked it. It's Somebody's Baby by Jackson Browne.
Oh yeah.
Is it because of the fact that you've been learning this new music, or did you watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High at some point? And
I've actually never seen the movie. I need to watch it. But yeah, I just love Jackson Brown too. But I feel like people need to hear these songs. So we were just playing it one time with the band and just decided to play it, you know.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always fun because like, there's always like a fair share of young people who like come with their parents to shows. And so I'm like, this one goes out to the dads and they're always pumped. Like they'll literally come up to me like after the shows, like wait, like and come talk to me and like, thank you for playing that. And I'm like, it's a good song, you know? I love it.
Obviously, we're just stuck right now. I don't. I hear Texas is starting to ease up on some of the restrictions, but I guess in the
Yeah.
interim, we don't think that large gatherings are going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
Are you a planner? Have you been mapping out the activities of what you're doing during this quarantine? Is basically new music coming up sooner rather than later now?
Oh, I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely just been working on this next record for quite a while. I'm definitely a perfectionist, for better or for worse, and so I'm just trying to like really make something I'm super proud of. I'm getting there. So yeah, I'm really excited to release this new stuff. I'm just not sure when I can, but I'm hoping sooner than later. Yeah, it's really hard to like with everything going on to like make a schedule for the future. Which
Yeah.
to answer your question, I am definitely a planner, so it's like kind of throwing me for a loop, not knowing what the future looks like. But I'm optimistic that it will, ease up soon.
Yes, as am I. We really appreciate your optimism and your time. Make sure you put Fast Times at Ridgemont High on that movie list, by the way.
Yes, I should just watch it tonight, just to say that I've seen it.
Nice. Well, I appreciate your time for doing this. Stay safe, wash your hands,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and we'll
definitely.
see you soon.